The way to fundamentally make the situation better is to focus on education and jobs and criminal sentencing and giving young people a sense of hope.
Right now on Indianapolis This Week, Mayor Ballard's sweeping plan to fight crime, add more police, push for tougher sentences, and fund preschool education. We're talking with the Democratic leader of the City County Council. Plus, it's day 3 of the Indiana State Fair. I go one-on-one with Lieutenant Governor Sue Ellspermann on the fair and the state of Hoosier agriculture.
From RTV6, the Indy Channel, this is Indianapolis This Week with Rafael Sanchez.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Rafael Sanchez. We begin with the mayor's sweeping reform plan to fight crime in Indianapolis. Greg Ballard unveiling his vision this week for what he calls a long-term fix. It has 3 major components, and here they are. Protection, hiring 280 new Metro police officers by 2018. Punishment, which means convincing state lawmakers to increase the mandatory sentence for a crime using a gun to 20 years in prison. And then there's prevention, a $25 million investment in preschool education with the goal of catching children at the earliest possible age.
I'm not aware of any mother who dreams her baby will grow up to be a criminal. We must simply get at the issues that lead these children down the wrong path.
One other aspect, Mayor Ballard wants to change the city's curfew ordinance to force 15 to 17-year-olds off the streets after 11 p.m. on weekends. The current curfew on those nights is 1 a.m. Those plans will require the approval of the City County Council. So joining us now to talk about the mayor's crime plan is City County Council President Maggie Lewis, a Democrat who represents the city's 7th district. Welcome to the program. Will you support the mayor's plan?
You know, I really think it's too early for me to commit one way or the other if I'm going to support the mayor's tax plan. I haven't had an opportunity to see the plan. I've been able to piece some things together from social media and what have you, but at this point I really think it's too early for me to commit.
Folks at the administration and also Republican operatives say that this has been the Democratic stance, that the Democrats have seen the mayor's crime initiatives over the last couple of months, and when it comes to your office and your fellow colleagues, that you push back or that you don't support it or don't make a stance on it.
Again, I haven't seen a plan at all. I haven't sat down with the administration and talked about what's happening in our city regarding crime, so that's just absolutely false. But again, you know, I look forward to us sitting down and having a conversation about how do we move this city forward and how do we address crime.
On the issue that you've seen so far, do you support the increase in police officers? Do you see this need for the expansion of a pre-K program to help inner city youth?
So here's the thing. A couple of months ago, we had a bipartisan committee come together and take a look at the staffing levels for IMPD, and they came back with the recommendation that yes, we do indeed need more officers on the street, and so those are the experts, and so I do support their recommendation and those numbers that they're saying. And I also have heard from many officers out there on the street, hey, I'm tired and I'm going to need some support, and so I think it's important that we get IMPD the support that they do need. As far as education, I have been a strong advocate for pre-K and quality education for pre-K, and so I support the idea. However, eliminating the homestead credit for that may be a challenge for us.
So is it a plan that you think will be a hard sell then, just the way it's currently put together, or do you really need more time to take a look at the entire structure of it all?
So again, I think it's important that we take the time to actually look at the plan and go through it line by line. But also, when it comes to eliminating the homestead credit, I think it is going to be a challenge. People were warming up to eliminating that credit when they thought the monies were going for additional officers on the street. However, now that we're making the argument that those dollars are going to be used for pre-K, I think it's going to be challenging to sell that.
Let me just look at some of the numbers, because the mayor said that if we actually, if you, the city council, adopted the plan, that it would cost homeowners in Marion County at least $86 a year. But here's some of the numbers. Eliminating the local homestead credit would impact $1.84 per month. To increase the public safety tax would impact $5.32 per month, and the average annual impact is about $86. Do those numbers make sense to you? Do those numbers need to be reviewed even further?
We definitely need to review those numbers again. I think they seem somewhat low. I've been told that we're looking from anywhere from $65 a year to $300 a year. So it's going to be important that we sit down with the CFO, with the mayor's staff, and really work through those numbers. And again, we need to have true numbers before we ask this community to take on a tax increase.
Now, this will be coming to you in a matter of weeks. Before it gets to you, what do you want to see in that chamber? So on the night that you hear the plan, the vision, what do you have to see so that you can say, you know what, maybe I can or maybe I can't support it?
Actually, I just need to see the plan. I need to see the numbers, and I need to sit down with the administration and they walk me through this plan, and I haven't had the opportunity to do that. So I look forward to that conversation.
And can you clarify that for me? Is it because they haven't shared it with you yet, or you haven't had a time to speak to them, you know, about what they were thinking?
So I haven't seen a plan. I'm available to sit down and have a conversation, but I have not sat down with anyone. I haven't been invited to the table to discuss this plan.
And so when you are invited to the table, what are you going to ask for so that you, as the leader of your party, of your caucus, as well as a leader in this community, can say, okay, or I'm not okay with that?
I want to see numbers. I want to see where those dollars are going to go. I want to know exactly how we're going to implement this plan. Again, I think it's really important that we know where the dollars are going before we ask this community to support a tax increase.
You travel this community every day.
Every day.
Every day. And so you're out there, so there's no question about that. And you know that there is a push. People want answers to something. Is this the answer in the sense of, do we need to get something done soon, or can we wait till 2015 or 2016?
I feel like we're behind the curve already. We are behind, and we need to start moving really quickly. But it's important that we have the conversation with all the stakeholders.
I have one more question, a political question before we move on. Of course, tomorrow, you know, Joe Hogsett will speak for the first time after stepping down as U.S. Attorney. There's talk that he may run for mayor, but also within your party, there's Ed Delaney and there's also Frank Short, who may seek the candidacy for the Democratic nomination. Who will you support?
You know, I think all of them are great individuals, hard-working individuals, great Democrats. I believe that with the city in the situation that we're in, the crisis that we're facing now, I think we really need a strong individual that can address the crime issue.
And so do you think the crime issue, public safety, will be the main agenda?
I think the public safety is going to be the #1 conversation piece.
Are you concerned at all that because it is a political mayoral year, we're entering one, that may get diverted because of all the politics that sometimes gets into the discussion?
Right. And so we still have to govern, we still have to move this city forward, and so those of us who are elected now, we still have a job to do.
And I've always liked to ask you this question, will you ever run for mayor?
Will I ever run for mayor?
Sure.
I like the sound of it. We'll see.
All right, fair enough. Well, welcome. When you do, please let us know.
I will. Thank you.
Maggie Lewis, thank you so much. What kind of real impact is the mayor's plan going to have if it does pass? Plus, former U.S. Attorney Joe Hogsett announces his next step, joining a law firm. Is this a step towards running for the mayor's office? Our political insiders debate when Indianapolis This Week continues. Joining us now are two of our political insiders, Republican Jennifer Hollowell and Democrat Kip Tu, here in the roundtable. Of course, the big issue, the mayor's anti-crime initiative. You just heard from the City County Council President Maggie Lewis. She's not sure whether or not she can support this plan.
Yeah, I think there's some big questions about the plan. I think it's a mistake that the mayor unveiled it and has yet to talk to her about it. It seems to me the first most important thing you want to do if you're going to pass a plan is to go talk to the president of the council.
Does he have
to get it through.
Does he have to talk to her?
No, and I would say, first of all, I don't know how a Democrat could stand up with straight face and be opposed to funding for police officers and pre-K. And the mayor
Well, they
has
don't
proposed
oppose that.
The mayor has proposed for 3 years funding for more police officers, and Democrats have stood in the way. We would have more police officers on the street today if they would have joined in that conversation.
Can I interrupt that talking point if I could?
And talk to her about it. Yeah,
Last week, the mayor said that adding more officers was silly. This week, he says a plan is necessary. He said it was
adding
silly.
more officers doesn't solve the problem, which is why he unveiled a comprehensive approach that includes everything from pre-K to prosecution and adding more officers. It was like 9-point plan.
So a year ago, prosecutor Terry Curry sent a letter to this mayor desperately asking for more police officers on the street.
For 3 years, the mayor has proposed more funding for police officers, and Democrats have stood in the way.
Last week he said it was silly.
And Councilor Lewis is the leader of the Democrat Do Nothing Council. I mean, they have stood in the way. They haven't offered their own proposals.
So do you think?
And for her to say that she doesn't know what's in the plan is ridiculous.
So is she lying?
Everyone in the city knows.
Is she lying?
The speech is online.
Jennifer?
The speech, there's text. There's a
Is she lying though when
PowerPoint presentation.
So is she lying when she says here on this program, that she was not consulted, not that she has to be consulted, but that she was not even told about the plan, and that she's just even unaware of the numbers or the talking points?
It's outrageous. Her own commission, the IMPD Staffing Study Commission, that she called a bipartisan commission led by Democrat counselors, brought forth these recommendations. Both of those funding recommendations came straight from her commission. The mayor stood up and said, I will support in any and all of this. She's been a part of that process for the entire time. She knows what those numbers are. No, what she's saying is just laughable.
Well, let me say that I don't believe that the mayor's office shared with her the specific numbers, but I hope
Democrats go to the mayor's office before they announce ideas.
But
okay,
I hope,
seriously. But it was all out there.
But I
the minute
hope
he gave a speech,
that what we do here is take a serious look at the proposal, because I think there's serious things in the proposal. I think that the Democrats are going to take a serious look. There's some big questions about what he's planning to do that I think that needs to get the light of day. Like, for instance, the homestead credit. If you're going to use it for pre-K, basically what you're doing is shifting from one school district to another school district the cost, and that's a big problem. It's going to be difficult to do. The schools of Beech Grove, the schools in Speedway are not going to be happy that their money's taken away from them for pre-K that they may or may not do. The tax increase that's proposed in here. We are a net donor county to the rest of the state of $350 million a year. Do we really want to go to the citizens of Indianapolis and ask for them between $85 and $300 a year to do that?
He's going to go to the legislature
let me finish my
and
point.
ask for solutions, but then would
let me
sunset
finish
these
the
ideas
point.
if it happens.
He's been in office for 7 years. He could have asked the legislature for the last 5 years for this, and he hasn't done it. So he's coming to the game pretty late on this. I'm glad he's coming to the game because he finally has admitted, I think emphatically, we have to have more police officers on the street.
Which he has done for 3 years. For 3 years, they have stood in the way of it. I mean, it's outrageous for them to say, gee, I don't know. Do Democrats really oppose pre-K?
No, we
don't. Do they oppose adding more police officers?
No, we don't.
Then what is the question? It's their own
how to fund it.
Commission's recommendations that the mayor's supporting. And they haven't offered their own, thank you, they haven't offered their own plan at all.
Well, I think they have, but
can homeowners support this? Because at the end of the day, right, as you know, you guys in the world of politics, homeowners say they want something, and then comes the price tag, comes the bill in the mail. Then people say, oh, wait a minute, I didn't know it was going to cost that much money. And we know that every day, let's be clear, our police officers do a fantastic job, the men and women in blue and brown and green, whatever uniform they're wearing, as public servants. So are the folks in Marion County ready to pay for this? Really? Is there really a desire to pay and do the right thing?
If they're convinced there's no other alternative, I think that they probably are willing to pay, and that's the problem here. There are other alternatives rather than getting into the voters' pockets, and that is we shouldn't be a net donor county. We shouldn't be handing $350 million to the rest of the state. We should be using that money for us here in the county. That's what we should be doing. And we should have leadership going to the legislature to do it. Why did he wait 7 years?
Will it be difficult?
Equitable distribution of income taxes and taxes generally. Okay. And he stated in his speech that if we get that at the legislature, then we can sunset these taxes. But instead of waiting, you guys want to talk about kicking the can down the road. You want to wait another year or two?
I can imagine when he was running for mayor, you'd have had to defend that plan.
For 3
thought it was funny.
years, he has offered funding for officers, and you've said no. There would be more on the street today if you would support it. So I don't know how you can sit here and say, maybe next year, maybe the year after, and you know the legislature, come on. Do you seriously think that overnight this is going to happen? No, it's not. So we need a solution today, and that's what the mayor has put forth.
Is there an appetite? Because we are using the words taxes, and usually politicians stay away from the word tax.
Right.
Yeah.
They usually call it a revenue enhancer, or they call it a fee, whatever their tax. Are we ready to have that discussion as well? Will this become such a political hot potato that we're going to kick the can till after the
mayor?
mayor
That's what they want to make it. That's why everyone called the mayor's proposal bold and courageous.
Really, the mayor didn't even say tax in the speech that he gave. He tried very hard not to say I'm proposing a tax increase. He said, well, if the council wants to do it,
it was very clear how the funding was going to.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a tax increase. I think I want to hear it from his lips.
Who should voters hold responsible? Okay, listen, I got it. We have two different viewpoints here on this table, and they're both valid. But who should the voters hold responsible at the end of the day, come November of this year? After it's gone to the budget committee and all that stuff, who should they hold accountable if nothing gets done?
Well, right now they need to hold Democrats accountable for speaking out of both sides of their mouths. They want to stand up and say, I support pre-K, I support officers, everything should be on the table, and then less than 24 hours later say, oh, I don't think.
So you say both sides?
I say both sides.
You say both sides?
Yeah, I mean, she is in the blame game. They want to blame the prosecutor, they want to blame the sheriff, they want to blame the council. They don't want to accept any responsibility themselves.
We're in the offering solutions mode, which the mayor has done
He just asked you a question argument you wanted to say it's somebody else's fault. If we don't get something done this year, everybody in the system has some culpability.
There's an easy way to get something done. Pass something.
See?
This is the same Democrat do-nothing council
you just want them
that waited
to rubber stamp your
6
tax
months
increase.
to get funding for potholes, couldn't get infrastructure funding passed after the council leader supported the original plan.
They didn't agree with the way to do that.
Tomorrow morning. They don't want to pass anything because they don't want Mayor Ballard to be able to have his package, but it's their package. I mean, they just want to stand in the way of progress.
Moving
they
along.
think it helps the mayor, so they're against it.
Because I'm running out of time. Tomorrow, Joe Hogsett will speak for the first time after leaving the office at the U.S. Attorney's Office. We don't know what he's going to say. A lot of talk that he may run for mayor as a Democrat. Does he need to make some sort of announcement so that the other folks that are waiting in the wings can decide what to do, or is he just not going to run at all? Thoughts? 30 seconds.
I'd be really surprised if he's not running for mayor. I'm fairly certain he's going to make an announcement here very quickly that he's going to be running for mayor.
Your thoughts on that? Will it change? Is it a game changer? Does it get in the way of anything?
I don't know. All I know is we don't need another Democrat politician to add to this group of Democrat politicians who talk out both sides of their mouth and stand in the way of progress for the city.
It is Sunday. You both get along so well. Thank you so much, Kip to Jennifer Hollowell. The conversation between our insiders, it continues on Twitter. Check out their Twitter handles. Give us your opinion and stay up to date with Kip, Abdul, Laura, and Jennifer throughout the week. They have plenty to say. It's a time of celebration for many Hoosiers as people from across the state come together for the Indiana State Fair. Today, we're sitting down with the person in charge of Indiana's Agricultural Department. Lieutenant Governor Sue Ellspermann is after the break. Welcome back to Indianapolis This Week. This weekend marks the kickoff of a tradition in Indiana that's been around for more than 150 years, the Indiana State Fair. The 17-day event is underway at the State Fairgrounds. It's a huge event personally for Lieutenant Governor Sue Ellspermann, who's in charge of Indiana's Agriculture Department. Hoosier farming has a global impact.
1 out of 7 jobs in Indiana has some connection to agriculture. This remains an economic force in our state.
It's a huge economic force and one that often Hoosiers take for granted. $16 billion, but if we don't see it, 98% of people are no longer working directly in agriculture, so many of them don't see it if they don't live in rural Indiana. So it's so important that we get to showcase all the good things that happen both in production agriculture and livestock right here.
You went overseas a couple of weeks ago to Asia to open more markets. You know that overseas, many of our products are sold, whether it's hogs or wheat or corn. What were you able to open up some discussions about that to sell more Indiana products?
Well, first of all, we received a very warm welcome. If you can imagine, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, the countries that we visited can't possibly produce all the food they need for their population. So very, very interested in everything Indiana can do. So yes, corn, soybeans, we put new trade agreements in place for those to continue production and export of those, but also things like timber. We don't think about the hardwoods industry here in Indiana, which is a big part of our agriculture industry and how important that is overseas as well. And then we saw opportunities in areas like dairy, our wines, our Hoosier wines that we're going to see more here at the Indiana State Fair this year. But we saw lots of opportunities to extend the exports.
So it seems to me that when people come to the fairgrounds, this is very, as you can hear, very noisy, active place. But this is really a global marketplace. As people come in to what they think is just 38th Street, they're really entering the world because the world is being exported for many of the people that are working here this week.
It's also,
the next 2 weeks.
Yes, and it's also our time to really introduce rural to urban, where people who don't normally get to interface with agriculture on a very close level get to see and get to work with those 4-H'ers and all those people who are engaged in agriculture in a big way. So, and of course, that, as you say, is big business. It's big for Indiana, big for the world.
Some people will call it a challenge, others will see it as an opportunity. What do you see as that, the biggest challenge for the agricultural community in our state? Is it that it's forgotten, or that it's not top of mind? What's the challenge?
It's likely education. As we've grown farther away from the farm, so we don't understand how our food is produced, how it's grown, how it's produced and processed, and the nutrition, et cetera, that all goes with that. So now we have a time of educating Hoosiers about the great practices that are used in agriculture, how healthy it is, how well grown in the food safety elements of what we do here. And so that helps us to continue to elevate. We also need to educate so that we attract our young people to go into agriculture, not just farming, but the biosciences. Indiana's a real hub of bio research and application with big, great companies like Dow AgroSciences and Elanco and Beck Hybrids, all located right here, and we need that talent to stay here and be part of it.
We have a new Coliseum. There's always the fair food, which I hear is all fat-free, right? For you, what is the best part of the fair? You will be here for many days.
Well, one of the little secrets is I'm a band nerd growing up, and I know they have a tremendous band competition that I got to watch last year, and love to see the engagement of all of our young people, whether it's our high school bands or it's our 4-H'ers or it's the STEM activities that are happening at the Glass Barn. All of that brings our young people right here to the Indiana State Fair to see what makes their state tick.
So, did you play the clarinet? Did you play
clarinet?
Clarinet.
Yes.
No instrument here. No instrument here. But we do have Lieutenant Governor Sue Ellsworth. Thank you so much. Enjoy the next few days. It's going to be fantastic because every day, right, is a great day at the State Fair.
They're all great days at the Indiana State Fair.
Lieutenant Governor, thank you so much. She plans to spend the majority of her time at the fairgrounds, including hosting several of her agency meetings there and helping with the presentation of daily awards over the next 2 weeks. Tomorrow is a big day for education in our state. Details when we come back on Indianapolis This Week. Back now to Indianapolis This Week. We're just a matter of hours away from getting ISTEP Plus results for schools around the Hoosier State. The test measures student progress on English, language arts, and math. We'll also get to see how each school district performed. We'll have those numbers for you tomorrow right here on RTV6 and theindychannel.com. And that's it for this edition of Indianapolis This Week. I'm Rafael Sanchez. Thanks for joining us and have a great Sunday.